Hey, welcome everybody to the Campfire Show. Today on the show, we have Wes from Virginia from Lifepoint Church. Hey, Wes.
Hey, how are you guys today?
Good. I am Doug in Indiana, and we have, again, my lovely assistant, Toby, who's in Dallas today.
I'm the Vanna assistant.
For some reason, whenever I refer to you as lovely, you blush a little bit. I'm not sure why, but
yeah.
But yeah, thanks Wes for hopping on the show. We just share some stories and some wisdom, and later some marshmallows. And today we're going to talk about how to run a multi-site church in this new normal that we are all in. But before we do that, we do this very important thing called show and tell, where we ask people to bring an item from their desk or their house or their car and show us that thing, just like we used to do when we were in school. So Wes, are you prepared with your show and tell item?
Yes. Let me go ahead.
All right. Yes. The fact that he has
the
to leave,
anticipation build.
I'm frightened and excited all at the same time.
Exactly.
It is the anticipation.
I wonder what it could be.
It's like in the original Willy Wonka, where he says the anticipation is wonderful.
Yes.
He's back. Yes.
All right. So this is Ruby.
Oh,
nice.
My word. Is that what is that?
It's a chick. Hold on, here you go.
That's a chicken.
Yeah, it's a chicken.
Nice.
But so in the midst of the chaos of COVID and all the other fun stuff, we've been home a bunch, and we decided to buy chickens.
So, very cool.
So you can. Hey, so is this a ploy to? So is this a ploy to now say I am truly a chick magnet? Is that how it works?
Yeah. Well, so the whole time when you're building it, you're like, "Hey, the chicks are totally gonna love this." So
that's right.
That's cool. You get a gold star for the first. I think that is the first living, breathing show and tell item that's been brought on. So that's awesome.
Well, I'm glad to bring you a chick.
That's good. Very good. All right, Toby, what do you got?
Man, I don't have anything in comparison to that. I just have my my trusty coffee cup here this morning, Ohio State, and this kind of goes with me everywhere I go. We've lost Wes to the chicks.
Yeah,
but
he'll be back.
But it's a necessary morning start. So here you go, Ohio State.
Nice.
Come on, there you go. You can read it there.
Very cool.
Well, that's my show and tell.
I brought today here at CSD. We are basically just a bunch of grown children. Some of us older than others, but here my office. Here's what I'm going to bring today: is my Nerf Mega Big Shot gun.
Nice.
So if things get out of hand in the office, I can defend myself. And we may or may not have wars break out every once in a while to do that. So
I need to up my game.
You do.
There you go.
I tell you what, I like the chicken as
my game.
The chicken's up here. I'm biased, but I think my Nerf gun was pretty cool. I don't know what the water bottle. I don't know.
That's coffee, man.
Is it?
Come on. That's production. That's production power right there.
All right. Cool. Well, hey Wes, tell us about you and your family, and maybe your role at the church and what you do there.
Yeah. So I get to live in Virginia. I have a wife and 2 kids. I have a 3-year-old named Ezra, and I have a 7-month-old named Winnie. My wife, Lindsay, and I, we started working at the church actually together about 6 years ago. And then about 2 years ago, she had the pleasure to become a stay-at-home mom, which has been absolutely amazing for those of us who work in ministry or even just in production in general. It's always great to have your wife happy doing what she loves to do. And for Lindsay, we found that was where her joy was in being a mom. So we had the absolute blessing to be able to have her stay at home, and it's been amazing. For me, I've served in a bunch of different roles at the church. Started off as a filmmaker, moved to film director. From there, took over or created a television department at the church. That television department started just as like a local 1-channel thing. And now we're on Hillsong Channel doing some international stuff, getting a lot of really cool opportunities. I also got to lead the production department at the church for about 2.5 years. So we are a 6, as of right now, 6 campuses but we have four like watch parties around the United States, and we just sent off the first family to Louisville to start our first kind of church plant of Lifepoint. So what that looks like, it's kind of like the Hillsong model, where we're sending out a senior pastor and kind of starting a whole nother collection of churches there. And then later this month, we're sending off a family to Stuttgart, Germany, and starting another church plant there as well. So as of the past 2 years, we've been a church of 6 locations, and soon we'll be 8 actual like Lifepoint churches with a bunch of watch parties and different things like that all over the world. So it's super cool. Now today, I get to serve, still leading television, leading the online experience, as well as leading the storytelling in our film team. So kind of doing a lot of stuff with cameras, a lot of stuff connecting with people digitally, and trying to figure out how in the world to stay connected and still tell stories that are impactful through Zoom calls and things like that. So it's a very different reality, but technology is weaving in every single way, and it's amazing to see what God can do through the things that he's empowered man with in technology. Yeah.
Cool. Well, the reason that we do the show is pretty simple. It's just to encourage churches, give them some inspiration, and I know we're going to do that today. So you mentioned you oversee a large church, large multi-site, lots of volunteers and a bunch of locations. What has this adjustment been like for you? As we're all doing things a little differently now, what does that look like in terms of locations and volunteers and things like that for you?
Yeah, I mean, it was very sudden. We went from a church that kind of had some reservations about online church as far as like calling it a campus, really understanding that people can meet Jesus in a deep way there, have like an actual relationship. And there's some things in the theology that we're still kind of struggling with. But as far as what changed is we went like from one day to the next, literally overnight, into a digital media workhouse, like creating online experiences, pre-produced initially, and then we ended up doing like true live kind of in the past few weeks. But it looked like multiplying from a focus just on the adult experience to creating a whole other content team for students, a whole other content team for kids, and really kind of seeing things multiply. It looked like going from having a lot of control on every single asset and aspect of a service to entrusting people and saying, hey, let's make some mistakes and we'll coach to failure, which was great. A huge cultural difference as far as just forgiveness and growth. And I think that also in the season, what we've seen more than ever is far greater than the context of what you're doing. The content is truly king. I've heard that for years in creating content, that the content thing, what you're saying, what message you're putting out there matters more than anything. But I haven't really ever seen it in play. But I think that the season of Corona and COVID, whatever you want to call it, has really made it to where every organization's playing field is leveled. It doesn't matter if you have 35,000 people coming to your church or if you have 35 people coming to your church. If you can figure out a way to dominate the SEO game, the Instagram game, like the algorithms, etc., you're on the move, So we've got church friends and church partners who literally have been asking us for years how to do things, and now we're flipping the script and like, how are you doing? How did you find success in that? Because there's no dominance anymore other than just creating a great message. No matter if that's from a FaceTime, like a front-facing camera on your phone, or if it's fully produced, there's not a greater win other than the best message. So it's been a huge difference. What we've seen culturally in Dream Team is it's been extremely hard, I think, for a lot of people. And our culture is fueled by the volunteering, just by volunteering. And so we have on my production lead at our broadcast campus alone, I've got 80 team members, and those 80 team members, have for years been divided under different leaders and had very clear leadership structure. And now in this time, you have people who are the spectrum of feeling completely alone because they're no longer having their ties to their serving as replacing their relationships. They're having to really figure out their relationship with Jesus under this pressure. And you have other people who are struggling so hard with being alone that they're not sure what's next for them in their walk, in their church attendance, etc. They're really trying to figure it out. So what we've created, like in our production team, is small groups that meet over to where we can just continue to meet and love on each other and pray with each other and find out what the need is. I think that's been one of the biggest things. Is it's so crazy how being around, people all the time, it's easy whether you want to or not for their work, their serving to really become the basis of your relationship. And during this season, what I found is in leading people and in getting to serve with people, it's really kind of given me kind of a I've been really far back. But now when people have family members dying, they can't mourn for them. When they have friends who are sick and they want to visit them, or last week we had a Zoom call and there was 8 people on the call, and out of 8 people there was 4 different deaths that they talked about that were or weren't related to COVID, but because of COVID they couldn't go hug their family, they couldn't go love on people, they couldn't cry with their mom, and there's a lot of hurt out there. And I think that's what's been the really in the relational aspect of our volunteers. It's really learning how to pastor them without the serving schedule. Learning to pastor them without seeing them for 4 hours and then being able to check out. Like, I know that sounds super selfish, but like with 80 people, like for me personally, it was, I see you every week for this small window and I love on you then, but that's enough to fill you for next week. And now it's like, I really need to be more intentional loving you every day of the week to where you feel like you're part of something and that someone's really pastoring you.
Well, Wes, that key, actually, I have a couple of questions for you. I've had the honor and the pleasure of being able to see you grow through a lot of those leadership changes as you've kind of gone on and through, and being there in the early stages of where production was and where television was, and then seeing that. First of all, dude, you're killing it, man. You're just, I'm so encouraged by you. And one thing that I've always admired is you've always embraced culture and really things that you were surrounded by, whether it be Instagram, whether it be, social media and those sorts. By the way, my kids follow you just so that they can see your kids. So they actually told me about the chickens before I even saw them, and they tell me my oldest daughter tells me about Ezra and Winnie before I even see the story. So it's awesome. So kudos for that. But in the form of leadership, just what you're talking about right there with that connectivity. With your teams, that type of thing. How has that response been overall? And what are some of the ways that you just explained some of them, but in a team sense, but also in a congregational sense that you guys have seen, hey, this has really been a success with how we've connected with them and how they've been able to connect with us.
Yeah. Man, so we have, like I said, a bunch of different team members and a bunch of different campuses. So I get to serve with a few people. I've got one person who I led for a long time, and now she's leading with me. Her name's Jen. And Jen's like laser focused on relationships. And I have another team member who I added to our dream team, and her main goal is making sure that everyone's cared for. And I think that in the past year, like, really working on growing, let's just talk about this specific campus, our broadcast campus, and really trying to grow what that team was. The main focus forever has been on the quality of the look, the quality of the sound, the quality of all these different things. It's been excellence that's been wrapped up in technology, excellence that's been wrapped up in experience. But what we've tried to do is we've tried to kind of flip that and do excellence that's based on love, care, and relationships. And so through partnership with Jen and with Jeannie, what I've seen 2 amazing leaders who have even shown me that leading in any area, it's not your proficiencies that take the front line, but it's your ability to be caring. It's the gift of hospitality. Even if you don't have the gift of hospitality, but you're trying to work hospitality. And hospitality isn't like, here's a charcuterie board. Like hospitality that's like
Although that's cool.
That's cool too. That's a great way to show hospitality. But it's more than anything saying, hey, I believe that you belong here and there's a place for you, and that allowing them to know that they're seen, that they're cared, that they're loved, and working as a leader to grow them. So I think that I think through a couple people who are on my team, like there's a girl named Charmin who's on my team that I remember she was serving for about a year and a half, just coming to midweek rehearsals, and she was serving at front of house doing audio and just watching, and really timid to get her hands on the board. And right before we went into COVID, I made it like super intentional in January to be like, hey, I see something in you, just let me schedule you, please show up, I'll put mentors with you, I'll do all these different things. And she, about a couple weeks later, just because I didn't care if she was good, I cared that she was seen, and I cared that she was like actually getting involved. A few weeks later, she was like, hey, I just want you to know, I wasn't gonna come back. I was literally about to come up to you that next week and say, hey, I think I'm done serving, because I just didn't feel connection. I didn't feel anything. I didn't feel any of this, like any purpose. But it was because, like, for me, I made the decision, like, to not care if she was or wasn't good, but to care that she was there and seen and loved, that it changed something for her. And likewise with the girl named Rosie, Rosie had a similar situation where she served in many areas of the church. And, like I said, like without intention, it can really become people serving is like the main reason why you call them, or people serving is the main reason why you sign,
it's a danger.
Text. Yeah. I mean, and the thing is like, it's not at a fault of anybody. Like, you get into anything, no matter if you're a boss at Walmart or you're working, you're trying to have a friend help you build something or whatever, or you call your friend because they've got a pickup truck. Like, there's this thing that you can by default get into a transactional relationship. And what's hard is choosing to lead through a transformational relationship. And with Rosie, when I met her at a creative night, and she was like, hey, I've served in these 5 areas, and I just feel like nothing's for me. It says, like we say to serve and all these different things, and there's no purpose. So we ended up getting her connected with the television department and serving in an area. She apparently writes, scripts for plays and all different kinds of stuff. And through having her serve, like just like Carmen, she contacted us and was like, look, I wasn't going to go to church anymore, and then I found a place with all these other misfits. You know what I'm saying? Production tends to gather people who feel like they have zero purpose at all, or have been wrote off, or aren't smart enough, or whatever, and gives them a place and a purpose. And I think that in this time, with doing Zoom groups and doing things that are 100% relationally focused and transformation focused, what I've learned and what's been taught to me is, if I'm looking for a leader, I'm not looking for someone who has the highest capacity and a technical proficiency. I'm looking for someone who's a pastor.
Absolutely.
Love how to care. And the thing is Jeannie and Jen, they didn't know a lick of production.
Yep.
Because their love was so great, and because their hunger was so great, they can tarry with any of my production directors or any of my coworkers, and they can lead all of them in how to love people and how to connect with people. And
absolutely,
that's the biggest thing is for me. I've had friends I had a text message the other day that was like just commenting on how like it seems like I don't have a worry right now, which is weird because I mean I worry about a lot, but externally that's great to know. And I told him, I was like, dude, I kind of come down like, it just matters that I know that God and I are good.
Mm-hmm.
And it's okay if I'm, if I miss a deadline or do this or whatever, like, nope, I don't report to anybody but him. Mm. And so long as he tells me I'm good, so long as the person who's leading me tells me I'm good, I'm good. If he looks at me and says, man, you're doing great as a husband and as a daddy, and my kids tell me that they love me, that's it. So if I'm just focused on loving people, on loving my team, on loving my wife, on loving my kids, that's all I got to do.
Absolutely. Well, and it takes a lot of that pressure off too. Because if you think about it, you can learn a skill. It's harder to adapt to a heart trait, and there's normally a heart transformation that has to take place with that. When we come to Christ, we are lost. We're just we're sinners. We're all of us are, and we need His grace to bring us back. But He loves us through and changes our heart in that. So as we develop our leaders, and as we develop people that are doing life with us and that are doing ministry with us, that heart connection is so profound and so much. I can teach you to run a camera. I can teach you to run a console, and there's talent, obviously, and there's talent that's in there. Certain people have an ear for music and that type of thing, and I get that. But I love that. Give me, Lord, give us all a heart to serve would be our prayer. Absolutely. And then in that, let's be able to impact others through that. So I know you guys are right there in the Quantico corridor. You're in you're just outside of DC. So what have been some ways that has been an impact that you guys have had, even in the part of your congregation that is involved militarily, that is involved through all of this? Has there been an impact through that? Has there been a different strategy that's gone through with that too?
Yeah, so I mean, we really organizationally, when COVID started, we started an initiative. It was like a season that internally we called Rapid Response, and externally was Church on Mission. And so with Church on Mission, really what we did is we focused every single staff member. Pastor Daniel did an amazing all staff and said, hey, look, whatever your job has been, that's not your job anymore. And he said that there's only three things that we're doing. We're doing outreach, we're doing care, and we're doing weekend worship experiences. And if it lives on the outside of those three things, it doesn't matter. So and kind of in that, what he really looked to is he shifted every campus pastor from not leading outreach to being the outreach leader. He shifted every staff member from not being in charge of care for their campus to everyone got a list every single week of 15 to 30 names. And we called, I think it was like 4,000 or 5,000 different people. And like in that, it was people who weren't connected. Because what we did is we did a call to our dream team leaders, our coaches, our coordinators, and said, hey, it is your job to care for all the people underneath of you, like in whatever way, shape, or form that kind of fleshed out. And then the staff cared for the rest of the church. So for us, we have an average meeting attendance right now, or previous to this, of about 6,500 people on a weekend. And that looked like in our database of 4-week average, about 24 or 26,000 people. Because we found in our area, it's just about every 4 weeks people attend church. And so it looked like the staff were really honing in on that, and phone calls, everything from like, oh my gosh, I just need someone to talk to in our chat rooms on Sundays. We had someone who was in the military, or sorry, he is in the military, but he was stationed in Quantico with our Stafford campus, which is about 6 miles outside of the gates. And he said, hey, I am in Ireland. My mom and dad are right down the street from the campus, and I have no family in America. I have no family near them. Can someone please help them? And things like that, we get contacts for all the time now, especially. But we were able to meet that family specifically with grocery needs, with getting their medications from Target. Like, we were able to do whatever they needed. And we've seen initiatives upstart in the church from business owners, from Lifepoint's partnered with them and given them finances, and they've taken those finances of buying meals from them, and they've printed T-shirts from them and flipped that into a fund for their staff, like from selling the T-shirts. There's been all kinds of like awesome initiatives. We, as a church, there was a dream team member who was like, "What if we made 100 masks, like 100 cloth masks?" And we were like, I mean, that kind of sounds attainable. And last week we crossed 8,000 masks.
Wow.
So we had a goal of 100. The local hospital said, hey, we have a challenge for 5,000. Who can hit 5,000? And we did that, and then hit 8. And on the same day we hit 8, we actually had people donate 1,600. So yesterday we crossed 10,000. Like, we're just like, it's just a flywheel that's continuing to spin. And we see each of our communities in all 6 locations now, including our watch party sites in Connecticut and Arizona, et cetera, that are doing amazing outreach things for their teams. We're getting to send money to the Dream Center. The Dream Center is multiplying that because that's what they do. It's been really cool to see all that stuff doing.
That's amazing, man. It's so cool to hear that experience. And it's cool to see how that is all taking place through technology. It's really taking what is available to us and continuing to be the church, continuing to reach out, continuing to be a part of people's lives, and letting them know that regardless of whether there's a pandemic, whether there's something that's going on, that the gospel of Jesus, the message of hope, is still here, and here's how you can get it. Mm-hmm. So it's so encouraging to see that. So I have kind of a two-part question for you, for me to kind of wrap things up here is number one is how does this impact your approach overall to an online experience, and kind of your thought process behind that? And then as we return, what's the adjustment plan to maybe meet again at the broadcast campus? How is that different from, like we said in the beginning, your multi-site satellite campuses? And again, as it relates to the online experience, does that change anything from what it was maybe before COVID to what it is now, given those successes, given those connections that have taken place?
Yeah, absolutely. So, all right. So technology wise, and just the mindset of programming. So pre-COVID, we had a pretty standard set of programming. So we had like 3 or 4 different formulas that we just kind of rotated through and did whatever we wanted to do. But what it was online was literally just someone looking into the room of our broadcast campus. It was not an online experience. It was what we send to campuses for IMAG. It was just online. So you didn't have a unique guest or a unique host. You didn't have anything that was special. It was the 31st campus pastor. And so what we were already working on for Easter that got, hightailed fast or fast forwarded was an online experience with a live host and all those different things. And what we got to do instead was we got to start that in March instead of in April. And what we have now, what we've kind of started as far as programming goes, is when someone's watching online, we have a countdown video that opens up 20 minutes before service. So we use Living as One as our primary streaming platform. So we have the door opens 20 minutes before service on all of our streaming platforms. And in that, we have created a playlist that it's not Spotify playing. We actually created one that's intentional that goes through about 5 songs. And halfway through the 5th song, it cuts into a more upbeat tempo. And then that's the pad or the music bed for our live hosts. So week 1, we had a live host pre-show that was 3 minutes. And then week 2 was 5. And then this week is going to be 7 minutes. So we're realizing that we need a little bit more context. We need to allow our hosts to have a little bit more play. They have a lot of personality, which is a huge goal of our pastor. Was Pastor Daniel, when he was talking to us, he's like, hey, look, we're going to do this. It's not going to be like something boring and monotonous. We're going to have it to be engaging, have it to be fun, have it to be where there's a reason for people to come early. Traditionally, for our church, people show up late. Even though cultural value says come early and sit close, they come late. So,
I've never heard that from any other churches.
No, never.
That's unique.
Yeah, all of the places that Toby's worked, everyone comes really early, right?
Yeah, they're always on the front row, ready to go, waiting on that countdown.
Everyone's in the front row, right? But anyways, so what we've done is we've been creating a culture of expectation. So in doing the pre-show and having quality content, we're airing outreach videos. We're doing Q&As. We're doing all kinds of things that are different and engaging, and every week evaluating it and changing it. What our goal is to not only create an engaging environment, an engaging experience, but we're also trying to create a culture of expectation. So we're hopefully come back to Lifepoint in person. Maybe they'll get there a little bit earlier. Right now they can roll out of bed and be there, but it takes a little bit more effort. So that's kind of how the
pajamas are acceptable. I mean, it's okay.
Yeah, moving forward, right? Church.
I had somebody from my church actually suggest that the congregation comes in their pajamas and that I lead worship in my pajamas.
Oh,
you can lead the way.
Can you let me know when that's going to happen? Because I want to make sure that I'm in person for that one.
I'm a little uncomfortable with that.
I like that live stream link.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think that might be distracting to some people's worship experience. Yeah.
It's amazing. You can wear green screen pants, and then
that's true.
You're even there halfway.
That's a great idea.
Yeah,
that is true.
So from the programming experience, we started with a pre-show, and then out of that pre-show, we did this thing where we actually let it run over like 2 seconds, to where in the background people can see like the clock going past 0 and the lights starting to fade up. That way it's kind of a little bit like you're really in the show or in the environment. And then we roll into 3 songs. Out of the 3rd song, we have a worship flow moment with our pastor, which is kind of a normal part of our flow. And instead of pushing to a news video, which is what we used to do, we push to live hosts doing the welcome. And in that, they'll do, I think it's 3 minutes. They'll do 3 minutes and push to some kind of story. So we're trying to really do a lot of content to help our church connect with what we're saying we're doing and what people are experiencing we're doing. That way they can kind of have that connection of like, they said they're doing this, but is it making a difference? And it's like, yes, it is. Here you go. So kind of teeing that up for people, and right out of that, Pastor Daniel will come, or whoever's speaking, and they'll speak towards whatever that was. It kind of give them like a push in their message. And then we'll roll into the sermon for 35 minutes. And then out of that, we'll do the gospel moment and a post show. Now the post show is a lot more lax. And in the post show, we've still got the chat streams rolling. So our online hosts can see the chat feeds to where they can actually speak to it, pray for people, love on people, etc. And they do kind of closing remarks. And like I said, speak towards people's prayer requests. So none of that programming existed 7 weeks ago at all. It didn't exist 4 weeks ago, to be honest. And it's really just choosing to kind of take what we've done for 15 years in church and just pivoting it. Like it's not an entire refresh. It's just using our normal model and kind of tweaking the target, understanding you're speaking to somebody different, understanding you're not talking to someone who's fully engaged and being okay with it, talking to parents about, hey, if your kids are there, this is something you can do for them. Here's actually our Kids Point experience, kind of really trying to help in different ways. And so that standard that we've created has actually created other ones. So we now don't just, no longer do we only offer our sermon online, we offer the sermon or the full experience. So we show the post show, like the worship set, all that. We've never done that.
Yeah.
Another thing is our worship team every single week is grabbing the worship set and cutting them and releasing the songs, which has been great engagement on all social platforms. We've been ramping up the quantity of clips we got from Pastor Daniel's sermon. We've been doing a lot of different things to take that Sunday experience and multiply its impact, as well as intentionally crafting some calls to action with prayer lines, with free book giveaways. I mean, it's been a joy of my heart because the things I've longed for in our TV ministry to make reality, we now get to do that in a live experience on Sundays. It's really making lower thirds, making transitional graphics, making intro clips, countdowns that are like high energy. It's just really packaging a service like a television show, and we've seen a lot of reward from that. Another thing that's changed greatly, so all this stuff's going to continue after this, and another thing that's changed greatly is we started a separate live experience just for kids. That'll continue after that. So we're looking at what staffing looks like for Kids Point to have their own content team, for Kids Point to have their own streaming team, etc. And then we've also greatly multiplied what platforms are on. So when we started off, we were on the church online platform, and we were on our app. We were on Facebook Live. So we were on three of like the most common church platforms, and through Living as One, we're able to do both Facebook, or not both. We're able to do Facebook, church online, as well as YouTube. So we've started feeding YouTube a stream as well. Recently, or this past week, we started tooling with Instagram, but really trying to stay within their parameters, because one of their fun disclaimers is if you stream from anything other than a phone or a tablet, you could actually get your account removed. So we've been trying to figure out ways to increase the audio into a cell phone or increase the audio to an iPad, and using things like moment lenses to give us different focal lengths. Really trying to, like just like an Apple commercial where it says filmed on iPhone and there's like 40 other things. We're trying to do that. Yeah. But there's a lot of acceptance in it just looking like a phone. People are cool with it. Yeah. And then, so on all those platforms I mentioned, though, we also have chat room posts. So that would be a whole new dream team opportunity to have an online team who are just, pastoring people, caring for people, praying for people, and pushing the conversation forward. So there's been a bunch of changes. I think that after this, though, whenever that is, we all of our portable locations, which is 4 of our 6, soon to be 6 of our 8, they all meet in schools, or they meet in places that are right now by default they're closed, and we don't own them, so we can't open them when we want to. So sure. That'll be interesting to find out how that works. How the opening process happens. Does it happen during the summer? Does it happen in the new school year? How does that work? But until then, what we're currently working on is how we can equip small group leaders in the same exact way that we equipped our watch parties to really be able to have home churches, to have more concentrated experiences, to where we can stay in line with all the regulations of our local governments. Because that's all, multiple counties, multiple states. So it's kind of a fun juggling act as well.
Man, there's so much good stuff that you just unloaded. I was sitting here. I have this little pen, and I was writing some things, and I kept up for a while, and I lost. But I'm gonna have to go back and watch this and write down some more things. But yeah, you had so much good content in there, man. And again, the reason that we do this is just to encourage churches. And I know that when pastors watch this and technical directors watch this, there's good little nuggets of wisdom in there. So I'm really grateful that you stopped by. And in the spirit of being super serious and imparting wisdom on our guests, hope you pick up on my sarcasm. A serious question I have for you now is, how do you find chickens that lay Easter eggs?
We bought Easter eggers.
Really?
I don't know if
who even knew that was a thing. Come on.
Did you?
How is that a thing?
Okay, my wife is way smarter at this than me, so she's gonna yell at me. I'm butchering it. Well, she drew up a diagram of the kinds of chickens you have to breed together to get Easter eggs. Yeah. So we actually have, we have.
That's crazy.
6 of our 12 chickens are Easter eggers. Or, sorry, 7.
It's Lindsay Rose, the chicken whisperer. That's what it is.
Yeah, the chicken whisperer. So part of Lindsay's job with staying at home is definitely researching farm animals.
Yeah.
And she is killing it, man.
That is awesome.
Like looking at them, and she's like opening her wings. She's like, boy, girl. Yeah. And I'm like, what? Just feathers. I have no idea what's happening right now. So
and you can use them for show and tell.
Yeah, I'm the dumb that pours out the water because I'm like, this looks dirty, and she's like, there's electrolytes in it. It's supposed to be. Like,
well, Wes, I'm gonna salute you. I'm gonna toast you with my double marshmallow toast. And the reason that you get a double is because, again, I started writing down good ideas, but the one thing that you said, which I love, is to focus on transformational relationships rather than transactional. Yeah, that's gold. I've seen far too many transactional relationships in my history, and then I also love the caring is more important than proficiency. Awesome, good stuff. Yeah, and again, the reason that we do this show is just to encourage churches, and we believe in sharing wisdom, and I thank you for opening up your brain and peeling it back and letting some wisdom come out today. And so yeah, thanks for coming by, man. Appreciate it.
Sharing your heart.
Yeah. But here's why we do it. Wisdom is pretty important, and it's not just my opinion. So as we leave, I want to encourage you with this from Proverbs 16:16 that says, "It is better to get wisdom than gold." We will see you next time.